All right, thank you, Rob. Well, a malfunctioning space heater sparked a 5-alarm fire in the Bronx apartment complex, which killed 19 people, including 9 children, and put over 30 people in the hospital. And it is the deadliest blaze in New York City in the past 3 decades.
Joining us now is Central Park Association President Michael Fischer. Michael, welcome to Wake Up America, and thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Now, last night, Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro spoke on the cause of the fire. Let's take a listen first.
This fire began in an apartment that spans 2 floors on the 2nd and 3rd floor of the building. It started in a malfunctioning electric space heater. That was the cause of the fire. The fire consumed that apartment that is on 2 floors and part of the hallway. The door to that apartment, unfortunately, when the residents left, was left open. It did not close by itself. The smoke spread throughout the building.
Now, obviously, this is just an absolute tragedy that this happened and that this could happen just by one of these heaters these days. But what can you tell us about the heating situation in that building? Why is it that we're still having to use space heaters in buildings that are meant to be heated?
Well, that building was built in 1972, and it was built under federal codes because it's a federal building. And, you know, my understanding is that there is not fire, but there are a lot of code violations in the building. And I'd have to guess that the heating in the building isn't that good. And so potentially people need those space heaters.
Now, aside from the heating system, you said it was built in the 70s. Where were the sprinkler systems? Were they installed into a building like that?
No, they weren't required back in 1972. And so there's no sprinklers in the rooms and there's no sprinkler in the hallways. But understand also that the cause of death in that building was due to the smoke, the black smoke that spread throughout the building very quickly from the 2nd and 3rd floors all the way up to the 19th floor. And so the sprinklers probably wouldn't have really helped. Well,
in terms of egress and how the buildings are constructed, that smoke obviously has interfered as well in how people were able to get out. So
yes.
What could have been done differently and helped more people escape? Or why couldn't people have escaped in the first place?
You know, in a fire like that, I mean, pretty much they were operating under code. I mean, they have my understanding is they have 2 egress, which is 2 staircases where people can go to. When the fire broke out on the 2nd and 3rd floor, it was a duplex apartment. What happened was when the person left the apartment, they left the door open. And so the smoke, as in any fire, spreads very, very rapidly throughout the building. And you're talking 19 floors here. It spread so quickly all the way up to the top that people couldn't even see their way out of the building, and they were choking on the smoke. And that's why you had 19 people die, of which 9 children died as well. And my sympathies go out to the families and friends of those who passed away. It's very, very sad.
It's absolutely tragic.
Yeah, and like you just said, 9 children died, 19 people in total. Now, what toll does that take on the members of the FDNY, you know, knowing they did all that they could to save as many people as possible, but that many lives were still lost?
Well, first of all, our fire department in New York is the finest in the world, and they did everything they can. And I did speak to some people yesterday from the fire department. It takes a great toll on them, you know, because they want to save everybody's lives. And unfortunately, you're talking 19 floors, and by the time they arrived there, I mean, there was smoke all over the building, and there was very little they could do, you know, to save some of those lives. And they saved a lot of lives. I mean, there could have been a lot more people that died. You know, so due to the fact that they are the best in the world, they were actually able to save many lives in the building.
That's a great point.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the community out there in the Bronx. How can they begin to heal after such a tragedy, and how can people also help them heal?
Well, it's very difficult under those circumstances to heal. I mean, especially when you're dealing with children, 9 children that died in that fire. It's, 2 days ago, these children were, probably enjoying their lives and playing outside and everything, and maybe playing with some of the toys gifts that they were given, for the holidays. And then yesterday, they're no longer around. I mean, it's very difficult. I think that people just need to offer their assistance to people that live in the building. make donations to, help people in the building and make sure that everybody that doesn't have a place to live can get help. And I think the city will probably do a great job on that. I mean, we have a new mayor, and I think he'll do an amazing job on that to make sure that everybody's taken care of properly. He's a very compassionate guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna take a minute for this community to heal, but again, everyone will come together, and you can make those donations as well if you do want to help. So thank you so much, Michael Fischer, for joining us this morning.
I wanted to add one other comment.
Sure.
That is, the city can learn from this, because there are buildings in the city that they use for public housing. They use it for shelters, for men's shelters that are fire traps. There are buildings that have one egress, one way in and one way out, no sprinklers, maybe no sprinklers in the rooms, and no fire escapes.
Everyone needs to be safe and assess their buildings a little bit more.
And they need to address these buildings, and there's one building, the Park Subway Hotel on 58th Street, that just opened up as a shelter. And that building is very, very unsafe, and it's a fire trap. And the only way people are going to be able to escape, and to think that building has only one staircase, this building had 2 staircases.
Yeah, right.
So you think about what happened in a panicking situation. If there's a fire there, the only way out might be to jump out the window. So the city needs to take a much closer look at those types of buildings and make sure that they're not permitted to open unless they're made safe.
No, that's a fantastic point, and this is certainly a learning experience for the city. Thank you again so much, Michael Fischer, for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Have a nice day.